November 15th, 2021. The United States approved a trillion-dollar infrastructure bill. For weeks, the number dominated headlines. $1 trillion, meant to fix aging systems, meant to modernize the country, meant to make everyday life more reliable. Then the headlines moved on. And for a lot of Americans, so did the question. Because years later, most people would struggle to point to what actually changed. Not because nothing happened, but because the spending was never designed to show up all at once, or in obvious ways. The money didn't disappear. It entered a system where decisions are layered, timelines stretch for years, and spending is separated from visibility. So the real question isn't whether the money was spent. It's why so much of its impact was never meant to be noticed. The infrastructure package was designed to address problems that had been building quietly for decades. Transportation networks built for smaller populations, energy systems operating closer to their limits, water infrastructure aging underground, mostly unnoticed, until something fails. The stated goal wasn't spectacle, it was reliability, reducing failure, increasing resilience, modernizing systems. People depend on every day, often without thinking about them, but this is where expectations begin to drift. Because infrastructure spending is never a single action, it's a sequence of approvals, negotiations, redesigns, and trade-offs spread across years. Once that sequence starts, the money no longer moves according to public timelines. It moves according to institutional ones. And that distinction shapes everything that follows. On paper, the funding looks organized: transportation, energy, environmental upgrades, digital infrastructure, public utilities. Each category has a budget. Each budget has a stated purpose. But these categories are not destinations. They are decision frameworks. Before any construction begins, money is routed into planning. Projects are designed to survive environmental reviews, legal challenges, and long-term cost projections. This stage rarely produces visible change, but it quietly determines what will be possible later. Once a project clears this phase, many options are already off the table. Budgets are shaped, timelines are locked, trade-offs are embedded. By the time physical work begins, a significant portion of the outcome has already been decided. Even if nothing looks different yet, nothing looks different. One of the most common reactions to large infrastructure spending is confusion. If this much money was approved, why doesn't the country look dramatically different? This is where most public expectations quietly break. A large share of infrastructure funding is spent long before equipment arrives on site. Projects must align with safety standards, environmental regulations, and long-term planning requirements. They must coordinate across federal, state, and local authorities. This work happens early, behind the scenes, and largely out of public view. The absence of visible change does not necessarily signal inaction. More often, it reflects the earliest stages of a very long process. This is not a failure. It is how the system is designed to function. Another misunderstanding comes from how infrastructure success is imagined. New construction is easy to recognize. Maintenance is not. Yet a significant share of funding goes toward preserving systems that already exist. Bridges are reinforced rather than replaced. Power grids are upgraded incrementally rather than rebuilt from scratch. Water systems are repaired, section by section, often underground and out of sight. The best infrastructure spending is the kind you never notice. Its success is measured by what does not happen. No collapse, no outage, no failure. If nothing breaks, did the money work? Infrastructure funding also moves through multiple layers before it reaches a project site. Federal agencies establish guidelines. State governments manage distribution. Local authorities oversee implementation. Private firms carry out the work. Each layer exists for a reason, and each layer carries a cost. This structure is meant to manage risk and accountability, but it also means money rarely travels directly from approval to outcome. Instead, it disperses across thousands of decisions, contracts, and timelines. By the time results become visible, much of the money has already been spent. Infrastructure operates on timelines fundamentally misaligned with public expectation. Major projects can take years to move from approval to completion. Some take more than a decade. Infrastructure doesn't fail on election cycles. It fails on engineering timelines. During that time, spending continues, but results remain partial or invisible. From the outside, it can feel as though the money is gone, yet nothing tangible has changed. In reality, much of the impact is still unfolding within systems designed to operate over long horizons. Infrastructure spending is better understood as a sequence rather than a moment. Money is authorized, then allocated, then committed, and only gradually deployed. At each stage, decisions narrow future options. By the time visible work begins, flexibility is already limited. This does not mean the system is inherently flawed. It means it is layered, and layered systems rarely deliver simple outcomes. The real cost of infrastructure is not always financial in the obvious sense. It exists in coordination, in compliance, in continuity, in the effort required to keep complex systems functioning without interruption. Managing public money is not about perfection. It is about responsibility under uncertainty. When systems work as intended, the result is stability, not spectacle. And stability, at scale, is rarely free. So the question is not whether the $1 trillion was spent. It was. The more meaningful question is whether the way it was spent aligns with what people expected it to accomplish. Should success be measured by immediate visibility or by long-term reliability? If you were responsible for allocating that money, where would you place the first dollar, and why? That tension between expectation and reality is where the hidden bill truly lives.